So last night was the first time after watching these that I actually had, it wasn't really a bad dream, but I did have like an ominous dream. Kind of like there was this like weird, ugly ghost figure, and my brain was literally, I did what I was doing in the movie, and I was like, just don't look at it.
Right. The dog stepped on me in the middle of the night, and I recall being startled awake, thinking that something was there. But,
It also funnily captures what happened while we were watching, when you were sure that something hit
the back of my head. I still think that something touched the back of my head.
Well, I mean, it's good. It shows that this one was really lived up to the premise. It was moving. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them, except for today, which is the final episode of our Fall Freakout series. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, joined by our October co-host on her last day. Oh, whoa. Last day.
Yes.
Of co-hosting.
Yes. This really scary thing that I kind of regret a little, but I also don't regret.
I was just going to, we'll revisit it at the end. I was going to ask if you regret as taking me up on this one. And so, as we promised for Halloween, for Halloween, we were tackling the scariest out of the movies. Mm-hmm. And I think it lived up to that.
Yes.
The movie Incantation. There's so much that we could get into when we watch this, because we actually both watched this.
It's actually quite a deep movie. It's not like linear and superficial.
What I would say for sure, watch a trailer, watch out. There's a lot of trigger warnings for this one. Self-harm, body horror, suicide, like underline as a million times as I possibly could, suicide, and disturbing imagery.
Yes.
That's what it said on Netflix, which was 100% true. As for anything else, I would say, first of all, this is a found footage movie. So it is meant to be kind of a confusing experience. We're going to be doing something a little unusual where the movie is not chronological. It is told out of order.
Yes, which makes you second guess a lot. And it's actually very intriguing because it's told out of order.
Turns it into a puzzle. Mm-hmm. For the sake of our summary today, I will be telling the story in chronological order. We're going to revisit the cultural context again after, because there is a lot. This one is maybe the most deeply Taiwanese out of all of the movies we've seen so far. And I would go so far as to say, like, especially the ones that I've been watching personally, are very ingrained in different parts of Taiwanese culture.
Yes.
So I was really surprised that this one did kind of come out on top.
This movie, I don't think could have existed in any other culture.
No.
Without having extreme alterations.
Drastic changes.
Yes.
But
summary.
Yeah, we got to get into the summary. So, Michelle, if there's something that I've underexplained, please jump in. Or if there's something that you need to underline as disgusting or horrible, also jump in for that one. That's going to be good. So the movie starts off by doing a little experiment, and it plays a lot with like your point of view. And this is a big underlying theme. This movie itself is very interactive in a way that I will not be able to actively describe. It addresses you, the viewer, behind the screen actively, and is engaging you in different ways, even doing fun things with like the afterburn on the screen and rapidly switching images. So it starts off with an experiment and asking the question, is something a curse or a blessing, literally just based on how you look at it. So this movie starts with three college age students who call themselves the Ghostbusters. There is, so there's Ronan, she's the girl in this group. It's a girl, guy. Then there's Dom, and then there's another guy. I'm not even going to remember his name. He's not important. He's going to die. So they're the Ghostbusters. Yeah. Dom and Ronan are dating, and they have decided to go to Dom's family that has a secret occult ritual worshiping this goddess, Mother Buddha, and film it because they don't believe in any of this stuff. They get all the way up there, and Dom's family sees that he's brought along friends, and they're like, hey, they're not welcome. Get them out of here. When a creepy grandma shows up, sees Ronan, and is like, you know what?
She can stay. Palm.
Yeah. While they're up here, creepy grandma reveals to Ronan and Dom, surprise, Ronan, you're pregnant with a little girl. This was a surprise to Ronan and Dom. They maybe had suspicions, but they didn't talk about it if they did. And Dom's uncle is constantly telling him, like, don't video, do not participate. Like, I want you as tertiarily involved as possible. Mm-hmm. But these kids are sticking their noses in everywhere. They see like a 10-year-old girl who's getting painted on all of this like ancient script up and down her body. She seems to almost be like possessed by the spirit of Mother Buddha. And it's the little girl who says, you should bring your daughter back when she's born and present her to Mother Buddha. She loves her. She wants her name. So all of this has bothered third friend, and he's like, we're not going to talk about this on the third wheel. We're going to go out, we're going to get videos, and we're going to go in that tunnel at the top of this place that they've told us we're not allowed to go, we're not allowed to videotape, and that it's totally forbidden. And he convinces the other two guys to go, and Ronan is getting physically ill at this point.
Yeah.
Dom is kind of on the fence about whether or not we should do it, but he's going along, he's pulling her along, and third wheel friend is leading the charge all the way up the mountain, where Dom's family has arranged in front of this forbidden temple a sacrificial offer.
It definitely is arranged like a crypt.
Like a grave offering, definitely.
Exactly.
And so in the offering, in front of this tunnel, they have a severed pig's head. They have a live goat that is tied up. He's clearly not supposed to make it through this. And they have the little girl who is asleep. She also is implied that maybe she's not supposed to make it out of this either.
We're not sure.
We're not sure. Ronan, who had some experiences with the little girl, she feels bad, so she's like trying to wake up the little girl and freaking out. Third wheel friend decides this tunnel is locked off, but not for me. Crawls into the forbidden tunnel. And Dom is like, well, you can't go because you're pregnant, Ronan. I'll go instead with him and we'll film it and we'll come back out. And Ronan is freaking out. She's like, I think this is a bad idea. This is terrible. Let's not do this. They do it anyway. Some time passes when her two friends, one friend, third wheel friend, runs out screaming, extremely upset, driven mad. Dom's family finds out because now there's a raving lunatic running around in their village. They find Dom's dead body. His face has been smashed in. And they slap Ronan because they're like, wow, you were stupid.
So stupid.
She tries to get out and she sees Dom's family has covered themselves in runes and they are praying, prostrating themselves, begging for forgiveness from some kind of figure. While Dom's body is being burned on an altar, her friend who's being driven insane bites her, all his teeth fall out, and then he jumps off a building committing suicide. And at this point, Ronan's like, I've had enough. I'm checking out, and drives herself back down the mountain. So time passes, and Ronan realizes that she has been cursed by something that happened on that mountain, though she doesn't quite understand. What she does know is she was taught during the time that she was there a hand symbol and a chant. And so whenever she is panicking, she sits down and she does this chant and she holds a hand sign until whatever is happening has passed. Bad things befall everybody who comes into contact with Ronan, and especially if they watch that cursed video. The first thing she does is she takes it to some police officers to show them because she tries to report what's going on.
Right.
The police officers watch the video and shoot themselves in the face, like hours later after she's gone.
Yeah.
Somehow she gets the video camera back and she's trying to talk to her parents about it, about like what's going on, what happened. Her parents, with her in the car, get into a terrible car accident. Her
Very
mother
graphically depicted.
It's very graphic. And this is happening in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. So it is going to be upsetting. Her mom dies in the car accident. Her dad tries to get out and is hit by a truck immediately. Ronan is like losing her grip on reality at this point. She has a daughter who she names Chen Dodo, which was what her previous partner, Dom, had suggested. And she immediately gives her up to a foster agency for adoption because she's like, this is not safe for you to live with me. This is bad. And she, whether of her own volition or not, goes into a mental institution. And she's there for possibly up to 6 years.
Yes, a long time.
After 6 years, she's kind of like grasping onto reality by thin straws. Her doctors have told her like, hey, we've seen the video. There's nothing to be afraid of. You can reenter society now. And she petitions to get
Dodo back.
Custody of her. She succeeds, and this whole movie takes place because she is videoing her new life. One, for her own sanity, she just needs a record of things that are happening, and two, because she's trying to like manifest something good happening,
and three, to kind of create a welcome home, like an adoption, like a thing for Dodo to remember as she grows older.
Yeah, because she's trying so hard out here, gang. At the adoption agency, she meets a guy who we're just going to call Dad. And he's a really nice guy. He wants to be a father, but he can't have kids of his own. He hands Dodo off and Dodo goes to live with the mother, but strange things start to happen and Dodo's behavior starts to change and she starts to act out. And the behavior and changes escalates rapidly. It gets to the point where Dodo becomes unwell. Despite the mom trying everything to do, she even tries to move out of the house. There's a lot of scary experiences. And the government basically is like, hey, you are an unfit mother. We can't prove what has happened here. But like we have seen terrible changes in Dodo. We have to take her back.
Right.
Dodo is sent to the hospital. And it's nothing that Ronan does. It's implied that the spirit, Mother Buddha, is trying to reach out and get Dodo. And that includes putting her into a fever so bad that she gets put in a hospital.
Right.
This is when the government tries to take Dodo away from Ronan, who kidnaps her own daughter in an act of desperation. And on the run, they run into Dad, who doesn't really trust Ronan, but he loves Dodo because he's been raising her for 6 years. So he eventually is like, okay, fine, I'm going to join forces with you guys. In his mind, maybe hoping to be like an angering force. They go on the run back up the mountain. They go to meet an exorcist, and an exorcist does their thing, and they tell her, all right, now no matter what you do, they exorcise the camera because the camera's been here the whole time.
They do all their steps with the eating of the strange leaves and the yellow paper and all of that.
And they tell her, Dodo cannot eat for 7 days. This is extremely important. If you fail this, we will all die. And of course, like Ronan is like, 7 days is a long time for a kid. And the doctor's basically like, do you want her exercised or not? Dad runs away with the camera because he's like, I want to understand what happened to you. He goes off on his own journey. He watches the whole video, so he sees what happened in the tunnel, which we see for the first time. And we understand that the two boys went deep into the tunnel, found offerings of human flesh, human hair, teeth, ostensibly from young girls, like 10 or younger, and eventually found an idol. And after watching the idol or looking at the idol, they were driven crazy. Dom smashes his face in, is grabbed at by supernatural hands, and watching this drove Third Wheel crazy. And that's when he ran out of the tunnel. So Dad then discovers that there is one monk in the old country, basically, who would be able to read, understand this script, and understand what the chant that we've been saying up until now means. He finds the monk, he understands everything, and he sends all of this to Ronan in a video where he also says, I don't think I'm going to make it out of this. Please tell Dodo I love her. It's been an honor to be her dad. And unfortunately, commits suicide by smashing his face into his computer. It's very graphic. Okay. Ronan gets these videos. She doesn't watch what happens in the tunnel. She knows enough, but she's been dealing with her daughter slowly getting more and more sick as the 7 days go on. And she becomes so desperate that she eventually caves and feeds her a single piece of pineapple, which is Dodo's favorite food. And immediately after she does that, this deity gets their claws back in her. She realizes she's made a mistake. She runs back to find that the exorcist has been killed by the deity, as has the exorcist's assistant, who, before she does this, calls her out and is like, you didn't follow the rules. And your daughter was supposed to be given to Mother Buddha. Do it now. There's a horrible jump scare.
Very, very dramatic. Very frightening. Lots of flashing.
So after this point, Ronan is like, okay, I'm kind of all out of options. So she takes her daughter to the real hospital. Basically what happens there is Ronan is like, I have to finish this. That's the only way to save my daughter. Puts her daughter back in foster care. She basically sets it up so her daughter is going to be readopted because Ronan's plan means she's not getting out of this alive.
Yes, she's accepted that it's not.
She's gonna have to kick the bucket for her daughter to live. And she goes back up to the temple that started it all. It is now empty after it went bad.
Yeah.
They all pieced out. So she goes down the tunnel and she's also finishing the ritual that had been interrupted by her and her friends. And she reveals to us information that she has actually had the whole time and information that she's been running from. Mother Buddha is an evil entity. And the chant that we have been using this whole time is actually a curse that spreads. Every time you say it, you invite the curse into your life, even if you're only reading it on a screen. The good news, though, is that the more people that share the curse, the more diluted it becomes. So when it was born by only Dom's family, terrible things were happening to them all the time. Now that Dom's family is dead, the entire curse is being borne by Ronan and Dodo. But if a lot of people watch this video, then it will be spread thin between many people and it shouldn't affect them very much. And best of all, Dodo will survive. And so with this in mind, she goes to the statue at the heart of darkness because the curse itself is held in, particularly in the statue's face, which has been covered this entire time. And the movie ends by her giving up her own life to show us through the camera what the veiled face of this statue actually looks like. After seeing this, Ronan sets the camera down or drops the camera and smashes her face in and dies. And that is the end of the movie. It is upsetting. It is deeply upsetting.
Deeply, deeply upsetting.
It's kind of implied. It's hard. Now, there's a lot of stuff that we can't necessarily say. So we know at this point that she knew it was a curse the whole time, but we don't know if she knew the whole parameters. We also don't know if she accepted it was a curse at the beginning or if she was trying to run away from it, which is kind of implied that she was maybe trying to escape it. There's a lot that is left up to the imagination.
Yeah.
You're deep in it.
You're so deep. It's so well made.
Yeah. It's a very well made movie. I cannot say anything bad about it in that regard for sure. Revisiting some cultural stuff though. There was a lot to this one.
Oh, there's layers and layers.
Layers and layers. The first thing we talked about at the end was the exorcism.
Which is actually a common thing. We live very close to a temple here in Taipei that does it every day at a certain set time. You can go there and get a
Xinjiang temple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go get a cleansing. It's really common. There's lines and lines of people who go do this every day. As I said, the Taiwanese culture, it's got one foot in both worlds. But yeah, culturally speaking, it is very accurate. I grew up here. It's so real, including sets, costume, makeup. It's so accurate.
Yeah. Going into like the second thing about this, having seen all the other movies, there are two things that I noticed. Was that this one, first of all, was a really good summary of a lot of other movies we've done so far. One, really pulling in on like, how does the culture respond to a problem like this?
Yeah.
And pulling on a lot of the ideas of Taiwanese horror that we saw in The Bridge Curse, and actually even in the tag-along about the power of your name. And so in that way, it was a really good summary of a lot of these little bits and pieces we picked up on.
Especially the monster thing. It does very much resonate Lovecraftian vibes.
Right. I think that it is like a Taiwanese cosmic horror story, which is really interesting to me because, as you said, Lovecraft is the one that popularized it. Some people think Lovecraft, like what do you think when you think of Lovecraft?
Cthulhu, which is it's an enormous creature.
Yeah.
With godlike power.
Yeah.
And that is basically what the antagonist in this film is. It's a semi-deity, demigod or something.
Never clear. We know that it was worshipped by like cultists back in the day.
Yes, very similarly to Lovecraftian stuff.
And actually, I'm glad you brought up Cthulhu because I wouldn't necessarily say that it was Lovecraftian because I think that puts very specific imagery in somebody's head. But I would say that, like Lovecraft, it is cosmic horror, specifically because the more you know about it, the worse it gets. And actually, like, ignorance is the best thing. The only way you can win the game is by not participating at all.
Yeah, and you get driven to insanity.
You will be driven to insanity.
But yes, it carried through the theme extremely effectively of perspective and intent.
Yeah. So there's a lot we could say to this, but instead, let's say on a scary scale of 1 to 10.
1 being a parody.
1 is a parody.
And 10 is you pooped.
Yes. Oh, you called your mom, you cried. Perhaps you sensed your whole house.
If I were not holding a dog, it would be 11.
Okay. It was a really scary movie.
It was really scary. And we had a house full of people.
Yes.
And, not all the lights off. And that actually did give me the power to be able to watch this film because I would have turned it off so quickly at the beginning if I'd been alone.
I would have turned it off way earlier also if I were watching this by myself.
Because it's a perfect combination of both of our fears.
It got my things I don't want to see. It got me Googling halfway through the movie 2 or 3 times. And I was like, does this person survive? I'm one of those guys. I am one of those guys. And I was like, I just want to see.
I only do it for animals.
Who's making it out? I almost had to do it for animals. There's a fake out.
There's a fake out.
I'll tell her the dog makes it.
The dog makes it.
The dog makes it. The dog is okay. The goat?
Maybe not.
We've never seen anything happen to the goat. I don't think the goat's making it, at least because he's left on the mountain. So maybe he makes it. Maybe he's a wild goat now. We don't know. We don't know if anything happens to the goat. I would give it an 8 out of 10, to be honest.
That's pretty high.
It's very high. For me, maybe a 9. It was very disturbing.
Yes. They nailed
a deeply
that.
disturbing movie. It's a really good lesson in having an unreliable narrator.
But she still tricks you into saying the chant.
All you gotta do is read it. All you gotta do is read it in your mind. That's it. It's a good one to end on.
Yeah.
We ended on the scariest one.
We did.
For you out there, if you are listening to this on Halloween night and you're afraid you don't have enough spooks in your life, watch Incantation. Would I recommend it? Yes. I would recommend it. With the heavy caveats of, like, once again, believe the trigger warnings at the start of the film.
I didn't cry, but I kind of wanted to.
I don't know that I can really promise to that. I feel like we did cry. But I hope that you all out there have enjoyed our fall freakout. If you like this kind of thing, let me know. Michelle, thanks for joining me for a whole month.
It's been a pleasure.
This has been Tales of Our Time on Radio Taiwan International. Please join us next week. We're getting back into our regular episodes. And thanks, Michelle, for joining us.
Of course. This has been a blast.
And we'll see you next time.